with me, folks, on an ugly win, having some beautiful storylines Monday night. If you thought that 2 feet of snow that came down in Boston over the last day and a half was going to prevent Celtics fans from getting to TD Garden to say thank you to Jrue Holiday for the 2024 championship trophy, think again. This is the Sound Out Postgame Podcast presented by Xfinity Mobile. I'm Mark D'Amico. Thanks for giving us a watch. Make sure you hit that like button. Send a comment in beneath. Tell us what you thought about this game. And while you're here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's talk right now, right off the top, about that moment for Jrue Holiday. It happened at the end of the first quarter when the Celtics, sometimes this happens during a first quarter timeout. This one happened between quarters, and that's what happens when you've got a starter who made critical play after critical play to help the Boston Celtics take home a championship, comes back to town. That's exactly what happened tonight. This one was circled on the calendar since the schedule came out back in August. We all wanted to say thank you to Jrue Holiday for what he did for this team. The tribute video was absolutely beautiful. I thought the live events team here at the Celtics did a great job just encapsulating everything that he meant to that title team just a couple seasons ago. He was heart, he was soul, he was playmaking, he was shot making, he was everything you would want off the court. And Joe Mazzulla actually touched on that during his pregame press conference, just talking about just how Jrue Holiday, a former champion before he got here, he was a champion, he was an all-star, and he came in here and he accepted a different role without any complaints. In fact, as Joe Mazzulla said, he did it with a smile on his face. And not only that, but he was immediately out into the community with his wife and with his children. I mean, I said it during the game, if you could draw up and create the perfect teammate, Jrue Holiday is it. Jrue Holiday is the perfect teammate. And him being that was so important to the Celtics accomplishing what they accomplished just a couple seasons ago. It was great to have him back. It was great for the fans to show up tonight because I tell you, it took me about an hour and a half to shovel myself out of my driveway. I know it wasn't easy for 19,000 plus fans to get to TD Garden, but they made their way in. The place was pretty much full on a Monday night amid a snowstorm, when, by the way, it's snowing again right now, okay? Not going to be easy for everyone to get home. They wanted to get back to say thank you to Jrue Holiday. He deserved it. It was an amazing moment. I'm glad that he got it. He deserves that and more. Wishing the best to him here moving forward. But while the Celtics were saying, and their fans were saying thank you, they had to deal him a loss, right? And they did with a great defensive effort. Just enough offense. This was not a pretty game for either team offensively, but the Celtics had just enough to grab the win. And the story of the night, outside of Jrue Holiday coming back home, was one Amari Williams. This is 2 straight games where Amari Williams has been called upon. Remember, this is a two-way player drafted in the second round by the Celtics this past draft, this past summer. This is a guy who's now played a major role in 2 consecutive games for the Boston Celtics. Did a great job. 2 of the last 3 games for the Boston Celtics where he's played great for the C's as they needed him. Tonight, Luka Garza was out with an illness, and there seems to be a bug going around the Celtics. There's been probably 4, 5, 6 guys who have been in and out of the injury report over the past few days based upon a non-COVID illness. Tonight, Luka Garza wasn't able to suit up, wasn't able to play for the Celtics. So they only had Neemias Queta as a starting center. No backup center until Amari Williams entered the game. And this guy has just been so fantastic throughout this season when he's been called upon. Earlier this year, it was against the Detroit Pistons. When he was called upon, he was ready. And now you can just tell he's progressed so much since that game. I believe that game was in mid-late November. In the past couple of months, he has progressed so much. He's had some big big-time performances for the Maine Celtics throughout the G League season. And now he's come up to the Celtics, the actual Celtics, and he's been giving them some really quality minutes since he's been called up. First game was in Brooklyn, where he arrived there just a couple hours before tip-off, comes to the arena. Oh, whoop, you're playing. We need you tonight. Obviously, the Celtics lost the following night in Chicago, but then they come back, and tonight he plays a career-high 26 minutes. During that time, he logs 9 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, a steal, an assist. He was impacting the game all over the floor. And now the Celtics apparently have 3 centers that they might be able to call upon on a nightly basis. And remember, there's only a certain amount of games that a two-way can play in the NBA before they have to convert that player to a full-time NBA contract. Amari did not appear in many games during the front half of the season, so the Celtics have some leeway here. If they want to bring Amari Williams on the road with them or at home for quite a few games here moving forward, they can. And now it appears that they have a 3-way center rotation of 3 guys who do very different things. Neemias Queta is very much a defensive shot blocker, great screen setter who is a vertical rim threat. Amari Williams has been doing it on defense, but in a very different way, number one. And number two, offensively, he's certainly a little bit different than Queta. Then you add Luka Garza into the fold, and he is totally different than those other 2 guys. Not really a defensive shot blocker or anything like that, but he is a hustle player, a rebounder, an offensive rebounder who constantly pursues the ball. A guy who can stretch the floor with 3-point shooting. He's been shooting 40%, 50% from 3-point range all season long. So now it appears that the Celtics may have 3 centers who can impact the game, including 2 who are 7 feet tall. We didn't know if this was going to be the case, and Amari Williams, I mean, it's a small sample size, but he has stepped in when the Celtics have needed him over the past few days, and he has delivered with quality, high-level basketball. Did it again tonight in a night when the Celtics absolutely needed him, facing off against Donovan Clingan, a huge, huge center. And talented, by the way. Robert Williams as well, athletic, talented, as we all know here in Celtics Nation. Celtics did a great job by having Amari Williams out there and preparing him for this moment. And credit to him, he was prepared, ran with it, had a great night, and that's 2 out of the last 3 games that he really gave the Celtics some great minutes. A couple other guys who gave the Celtics great minutes tonight, Peyton Pritchard and Derek White, the starting backcourt for the Boston Celtics. Listen, when those 2 guys shoot the ball well, it is very difficult to beat this Celtics team, and it proved to be the case yet again tonight. Peyton Pritchard was the top scoring option for Boston all night long. Really one of the only guys who had it going offensively throughout this game. No one else really did. Jalen didn't. Derek, who we're going to talk about, he didn't. It was like Peyton Pritchard was the guy who from start to finish really played well and shot the ball efficiently offensively. He had 2 buzzer beaters in the first half. One at the end of the first quarter, obviously, one going into halftime. This is just what this guy does, right? Like, he does not get bothered by the clock winding down. He might be the best end of quarter scorer and shooter that we have in the NBA based upon the amount of times that this guy makes buzzer-beating shots. So he did it again twice tonight during the first half as he put together a 23-point performance to lead all scorers during this game. Now, Derek White, as I said, he didn't have it going all night long, but he did have a bounce-back shooting night. Did not shoot the ball well Saturday night. He missed Friday night's game with a rest night. Came back Saturday. Didn't look all too great. But he comes into this game, winds up scoring 18 points with a solid shooting percentage, 7 for 15 from the field, 2 for 4 from distance. So you love to see him getting back on track with that shot. As I said, when him and Peyton Pritchard are both shooting the ball well, this team is very difficult to beat. We know those guys are going to bring it defensively, in particular Derek White, arguably the best shot blocking guard of the past decade in the NBA. But when Derek is also shooting it well, which he has not consistently throughout the season, we'll be honest, when him and Peyton are both shooting it well, Celtics team's very difficult to beat. And tonight, not only did Derek shoot it well, but he made one of the biggest shots of the game. Final minute. And listen, credit to the Portland Trailblazers. They would not go away. It felt like all night long the Celtics were just building and building. They were going to blow this game open. Portland didn't quit. During that final minute, they made it a 5-point game. With less than a minute to go, the Celtics needed a clutch bucket. And where do you turn to? Mr. Clutch himself. It feels like Derek White always comes through in critical moments when the Celtics need him. He did it again tonight. Banged home a three-pointer to bump it from a 5-point game to an 8-point game. Like I said, with less than a minute to go, that was the knockout punch. You knew the Celtics were grabbing this win after he made that shot. So again, Peyton Pritchard, 23 points to lead all scorers in this game. He was cooking from start to finish. Derek White had a solid bounce-back shooting night and made that clutch shot during the final minute to really propel the Celtics to this win. So great to see the starting backcourt playing well. All right, let's dive into some comments from our fans. We've got two of them tonight. First one's coming in from Gonzalo Vasquez, who sent in a crazy stat that was on the broadcast tonight. We've got to take a look into this. You're going to be interested in this one if you did not see it on the broadcast. Then we've got Brian with a great big picture comment and thought on big men here in Boston.
I think you're wonderful.
Cut your mobile bill in half and save $65 a month for your first year with Xfinity Mobile.
All right, folks, Gonzalo Vasquez is up first. And this isn't a comment. This is putting a circle around a stat that was on the broadcast tonight. I'll read that stat to you right now. 7th win of the season for the Boston Celtics without trailing. That's the most in the NBA. That is a crazy stat. I'm going to repeat it just for any of you who are not interpreting this the first time that I read it. Tonight was the 7th win of the season for the Boston Celtics in which they never trailed. That is the most such games in the NBA. Let that settle in. Think about how great the Oklahoma City Thunder has been all season long. Think about how great the Detroit Pistons have been all season long. You've got a bunch of really good teams in the standings this season, especially out west. Denver, San Antonio, Houston. The Lakers have been really good. In the East, you've got Detroit. Toronto's been good all year. New York, obviously, has struggled over the last couple of weeks, but they've been good all year. Like, it's the Celtics out of all of them who have the most wins this season without ever trailing. Crazy. I'm going to remind you right now, Oklahoma City's 37-10. For a while, at the start of the season, people thought that they were going to run away and set a new record for most wins in a season. They didn't have more than 7 wins during that stretch without trailing. That's crazy that the Celtics have the most in the NBA. But it says a lot about what type of team they are. You don't do that. You don't log that stat. You don't create that stat without having a great basketball team. You've got to have depth. You've got to have shooting. You've got to have defense. And the defense is getting better, as evidenced by tonight. Portland shot 41% in this game, scored 11 points during the first quarter. I believe it's the second lowest the Celtics have allowed in a first quarter in the last about 4 years. I think they made 12 shots during the first half total. That's the least the Celtics have allowed in 2 or 3 years. Defense is coming along, folks. The defense is coming along. When you add that to the depth that we just talked about, this team is one of the deepest in the NBA. To the shooting, to the scoring. That's what gives a team the ability to never trail in a game. And the Celtics have now done that in, 7 of their 45 games at this point, 46 games. It's incredible that they've done this. And I appreciate you sending this in. Gonzalo, great stat that you pulled from the broadcast. You didn't send in a comment, but you did send in a picture of that stat. So thanks for sending it in. And hopefully everyone out there now, if you didn't get to watch the game, you didn't see that stat, now you know. All right, our next comment of the night coming in from Brian. But before we dive into that, quick word from our partner, Xfinity Mobile. You know that extra spark of energy that can make all the difference in crunch time? Xfinity Mobile brings that same hustle to Celtics fans everywhere. With intelligent Wi-Fi and 5G working in perfect sync, you get ultra-fast speeds and reliable coverage wherever you go. It's the ultimate fast break, season after season. Xfinity, imagine that. All right, this comment coming in from Brian, who says, with Garza out, Amari steps up. If anything, the development of big men in Boston should be a beacon to others around the league. Come to the Celtics. We can make you better. This is an excellent comment and observation. Again, big picture from Brian here. We're not necessarily talking about just tonight's game. We're talking about something that happened in tonight's game that is a part of a bigger storyline that's been brewing in Boston for years now. Started with Robert Williams developing and with Luke Cornett, and look what Luke Cornett has gone on to become here in the past few seasons. First here in Boston, now out there with the Spurs with one of the best teams in the league, playing with Victor Wembanyama, French Vanilla, the best nickname that we've got going on in the NBA. But now it's carrying on here in Boston with Neemias Queta and Luka Garza and now Amari Williams. It just seems like any big man who comes through this program and the Celtics put their trust in to be out there for major minutes, they perform and they develop, especially the young guys. Like, I couldn't tell you, off the top of my head, I can't tell you a big man who came through this program recently who is young that the Celtics got when they were very at the start of their career who didn't turn into something. And when I say something, a legitimate NBA player who's making an impact. And I consider Luka Garza and Luke Cornett in that category because those guys just didn't play much with the teams that they were on before they came to Boston. But everyone has developed. Everyone has made an impact. And now we're seeing it in real time with Amari Williams for a guy who is a two-way player who has been having some dominant performances with the Maine Celtics in the G League. If you haven't heard about it, you need to go look up his game log. Type it in to the NBA G League site. Bring up his game log. This guy has been dominating down there with multiple triple-doubles, 30-point games, huge nights. Now he's come to the Celtics. He's gotten that call up, and he's stepped up both times the Celtics have asked him to in the past few days as they've had one of their centers out of the lineup. So, great comment from Brian here. It really is impressive to see what these big men have brought to the table for the Boston Celtics as they have developed within this program. The Celtics player development program might be the best in the NBA. Time after time after time, we see guys outperforming expectations and becoming legitimate NBA players. It's happening right now in front of our very eyes with Amari Williams. The 7-foot big man, the giant from the UK, is giving the Celtics everything that they could hope for right now. All right, tonight was the first game of a 4-game homestand, and some of us might call this the homecoming week, okay? Because as we talked about early on, Jrue Holiday came back tonight. On Wednesday, Kristaps Porzingis comes back. He's going to get the same treatment Wednesday night when he comes back here with the Hawks. Friday night, it's the Sacramento Kings. Then we fast forward to Sunday. Doc Rivers is coming back with the Milwaukee Bucks. So this is a 4-game homestand for the Celtics. They tipped it off with a win tonight. Again, on Wednesday, they will be hosting the Atlanta Hawks, who they just eviscerated a couple weeks ago down in Atlanta. Let's see if they can duplicate that. I got a feeling this one's going to be more difficult this time around, but should be a lot of fun to serenade Kristaps Porzingis, welcome him back, and say thank you to the big man who played a huge role in the Celtics winning that championship back in 2024. Thanks for giving us a watch and a listen. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And again, send those comments in below. I want to hear what you had to say about tonight's game. Have a great Tuesday. Stay safe if you're in New England. All the snow going around. We want you to drive safe if you have to get out on the roads. And then make sure you tune in to the game Wednesday night. And after the final buzzer, I'll send out a post. Reply with your comments, and I'll take a couple in the next episode of Sound Off, presented by Xfinity Mobile.